Dinosaurs are no longer with us, so we can't observe their behavior in the wild. Instead, we have to piece together what they were like based on their fossils. And one of the things that intrigues me about dinosaurs is how they interacted with each other. So today, I'm going to talk about what fossils tell us about dinosaur herds. I make videos about dinosaurs and other ancient creatures for a living, which is pretty cool. Now, when I say herd, I don't mean just a bunch of dinosaurs all hanging out together. I mean a group of individuals that are related and behave in similar ways. So today I'm going to cover three aspects of saurian society: mating and reproduction, caring for young, and defense against predators. When we find fossilized bones from multiple individuals in the same place, it suggests that they lived and died together, which suggests they were related in some way, but sometimes they are just random individuals that happen to die close to each other. Let's look at some examples. This fossil site in Utah contains the remains of more than 2,000 dinosaurs from over 30 species. It's called the Cleveland-Lloyd Quarry and was discovered in the 1940s. At the time, the quarry was thought to be the largest fossil site in the world, and it still ranks as the fourth biggest. Most of the fossils found here are from a single species of sauropod, and that's not surprising given that this was the late Jurassic and sauropods dominated the landscape. The sheer number of fossils was surprising, though, and it suggested that something unusual had happened here. At first, it was thought that all of these dinosaurs were killed by an earthquake. This was based on the fact that many of the bones were found jumbled together, and earthquakes often kill lots of animals by collapsing buildings or triggering landslides. However, paleontologists realized that there was another explanation. All of these animals didn't die at the same time. They were all killed by predators and scavenged to the point that the only parts of their bodies left were their teeth and some small bones. That means that this fossil site is actually a mass death event. It's the fossil equivalent of a pile of bones at a hyena den. The hyenas in this case are relatives of the modern-day crocodile. The fossil record shows that they had dragged their prey into this area and consumed them, dropping their leftovers as they went. What's interesting about this site is that it tells us that even though sauropods were huge, they were still preyed upon, and it also demonstrates that crocodilians were capable of killing adult sauropods. Today, crocodiles will eat pretty much anything that enters their territory. This includes birds, humans, and of course, dinosaurs. A recent study suggested that crocodilians could grow up to 7 meters long during the age of dinosaurs, which is larger than any crocodilian alive today. These giants likely hunted large dinosaurs in the same way that modern crocodiles ambush their prey. They would wait until a sauropod came near water, then grab it by the legs and pull it down to devour it. Another example of crocodilians killing sauropods comes from Argentina, where fossilized footprints show a fight between a tyrannosaur and a crocodilian. The tracks show that the Tyrannosaurus was trying to escape, but the crocodilian kept pulling it back towards the water. This makes sense because crocodilians are great swimmers but terrible walkers on land. The struggle lasted for over 100 meters, but eventually the Tyrannosaurus managed to get away. Okay, now let's talk about mating and reproduction. One of the strangest examples of dinosaurs living in groups comes from this fossil site in Canada. It contains hundreds of fossils from the horned dinosaur Boreopelta markmicheli. The thing is, most of these fossils are juveniles, and many of them have been found preserved in tight aggregations. Some of these groups contain up to 50 dinosaurs, but they aren't just standing randomly. They seem to be huddled together. The researchers that found this site hypothesized that these dinosaurs may have been huddling together for warmth. Now, this isn't the first time I've talked about this fossil site, but back in my first video about it, I hypothesized that these dinosaurs were herded together by adults. This makes sense, because baby dinosaurs couldn't regulate their body temperature very well, and they would easily succumb to hypothermia if they got cold. Imagine a herd of adult dinosaurs rounding up the youngsters before winter sets in and keeping them warm. Modern birds do something similar with their chicks, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to imagine that their ancestors did as well. However, there's no direct evidence to support this idea, so it's still just a hypothesis. We also don't know for sure if these dinosaurs were related. There's a chance that they are just a bunch of random individuals that happen to die close to each other. But the idea that they huddled together is much more intriguing. Another possibility is that they weren't huddling voluntarily. Maybe they were trapped by a rock slide or something like that. Huddling would have been an instinctive response to being trapped, and it would have kept them warm while they waited to be rescued. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough information to come to a conclusion. But this is why I love the study of paleontology. There's always more to discover. The discovery of these fossils also gave us information about the life history of this dinosaur. We know that it went extinct during the mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous period. But this fossil site suggests that it took several million years for its population to decline. It wasn't an immediate event. The species had been around for at least 5 million years before it disappeared. All right, let's talk about defense against predators. This fossil site in Wyoming contains the remains of a Triceratops and a Tyrannosaurus. It was discovered in 1899, which is really early in the history of paleontology. Back then, people thought that the T-Rex had killed the Triceratops. But as time went on, more evidence emerged suggesting that this wasn't the case. The two dinosaurs were found in different parts of the state, and they had been separated by thousands of kilometers of sediment. Also, the bones had been jumbled together, and the skull of the T-Rex was missing. The truth was that this fossil site was just a pile of bones that had been washed together by a river. But in 2018, the T-Rex skull turned up in the Hell Creek Formation in Montana, less than 2 kilometers from where the rest of the skeleton was found. This made it much more likely that these two dinosaurs had died together. The discovery of another fossil site also supported this. This one contains the remains of a T-Rex and a horse from the genus and species of Equus. Once again, it was assumed that the T-Rex had killed the horse, but later analysis showed that this was unlikely. The chemical makeup of the bones suggested that the T-Rex was an adult and the horse was a juvenile, and the bone that connected the two dinosaurs together showed signs of having been weathered for a long time. This meant that the T-Rex was probably a scavenger that had stolen the horse from its mother. So it seems that the relationship between T-Rex and Triceratops was more complex than predator-prey. Sometimes a T-Rex could bring down a Triceratops, but other times the tables could turn. There are several other sites where the bones of these two dinosaurs have been found together. Some of them show clear evidence of fighting. In one case, a Triceratops had gored a T-Rex in the frill. Other sites suggest that T-Rex was winning the fight. In one case, the jawbone of a Triceratops was found embedded in the skull of a T-Rex. Whatever the outcome, these two dinosaurs clearly interacted with each other a lot. They were probably ecological competitors as well as predators and prey. It's hard to imagine a more intense rivalry. Okay, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please subscribe. It helps my channel grow and allows me to keep making videos about dinosaurs. I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you next time.